Morning, Mr. Chairman Kane, Vice Chairman Hamilton, members of the Commission. Thanks for letting me speak to you today. Before I begin to relay the story of encountering I have on August 4, 2001 with a Saudi male, there are two things you should know. Number one, on this day I was just doing my job. I'm honored and proud that work I did apparently did help stop a potential hijacker in September 11 tragedy, and I'm honored to be here today. Two, when I conducted the secondary inspection of the subject, I was drawing on my experience and training in interview techniques that I learned primarily in the military, immigration law and fraud learning in the Immigration and Naturalization Service, and my years of experience at Orlando International Airport observing and working with Saudi nationals, many of whom come with their families through the Orlando International on their way to Disney World. On August 4, 2001, I was assigned as a secondary inspection officer at the Orlando International Airport. My supervisor ordered the inspection between primary and secondary inspections, and on this day I was assigned to secondary inspection. At approximately 17:35 hours, I was assigned the case of a Saudi national who have arrived on Virgin Atlantic Flight 15 from London Gatwick Airport. As Saudi come through Orlando to travel to Disney World are common, I have plenty of flight experience with Saudis. In this particular case, the subject was referred to secondary inspection because the primary inspector could not communicate with him, and his arrival departure form I-94 and custom declaration form C-6059B were not properly completed. Our first query the subject's name, date of birth, and passport number through the computer system with negative results. Subject documents appeared to be genuine. A search of the subject and his personal belongings were also negative. Subject was enrolled in IDEN and photograph. In addition, a complete set of fingerprints was taken on form FD-249. Through my INS training and military experience, my first impression of the subject was that he was a young male, well-groomed, with short hair, trimmed mustache, black long-sleeve shirt, black trousers, and black shoes. He was about 5'6" and in impeccable shape, with large shoulders and thin waist. He had a military appearance. Upon establishing eye contact, he exhibited body language that appeared arrogant. In fact, when I first called his name in secondary room and matched his name with papers, he had a deep staring look. I had the impression of the subject that he had knowledge of interview techniques and had military training. Upon my initial review of the subject paperwork and documents, I noticed that he did not have a return airline ticket or hotel reservation. Upon learning that the subject did not speak English, at least or what that is want us to believe, I contacted an Arabic interpreter from the Department of Justice interpreter list. My first question to the subject through the interpreter, why he was not in possession of a return airline ticket. The subject became visible upset and in an arrogant and threatening manner, which included pointing his finger at my face, stated that he did not know where he was going when he departed the United States. What first came to mind at this point was the subject was a hitman. A hitman doesn't know where he's going because if he's caught, that way he doesn't have anything or any information to bargain with. My wife said that I was watching too much movies. The subject then continued stating that a friend of his was to arrive in the United States at a later date and that his friend knew where he was going. He also stated that his friend will make all the arrangements for the subject departure. I asked him if he knew where his friend was to arrive in the United States, and he responded that his friend was to arrive in 3 or 4 days. I asked him the purpose of his trip was and how long he wanted to stay. He responded that he will be vacationing and traveling through the United States for 6 days. At this point, I realized, correction, he responded that he will be vacationing and traveling through the United States for 6 days. At this time, I realized that the story did not seem plausible. Why would he be vacationing for only 6 days and spend half of his time waiting for his friend? It became appear that the subject was being less than truthful concerning his true intention. At this time, I asked him again where he was going to stay. He said a hotel. I then told him that without knowledge of the English language or a hotel reservation, he would have difficulty getting around Orlando. He answered that there was someone waiting for him upstairs. When asked the person's name, he changed his story and said no one was meeting him. He said he was to call someone home that he would contact someone locally to pick him up. I then asked the subject for the person's phone number and name, and he refused to provide, stating that was none of my business. He stated that it was a personal matter and he did not see any reason for me to contact that person. The subject was very hostile throughout the entire interview that took approximately 1.5 hours. Subject was in possession of $2,800 US and no credit card. This amount did not appear sufficient for a 6-day vacation plus a hotel room and return tickets since one way to Dubai, where he originated from, will cost approximately $2,200. When confronted with this fact, he responded that his friend was going to bring him some money. I then asked why he will bring you some money. He replied, because he's my friend. I then asked, how long have you planned to stay? Or how long do you know this person? And he answered, not too long. I don't have any friends that would buy a plane ticket for me. I know that fact. Then I said to myself, I will try to place him on the oath and explain the consequence of giving a false statement and see how he responds. He agreed to answer on the oath. However, when I asked the first question, he said, I want to answer. The Arabic interpreter stated to me something to the fact that something is not right. At this point, I gave my supervisor a synopsis of the case and explained my suspicions that the individual was mollified, i.e., that his true intent in coming to the United States was not clear, and he appeared to be very evasive. After presenting the case to my supervisor, he felt that Assistant Airport Director should be contacted for further instructions. Normally, second-line supervisors such as the AAPD are not contacted in such matters, but because of the fact that we have provided no specific ground for removal, higher-up confirmation was needed. My supervisor then proceeded to call the AAPD at home to explain the case and get concurrence for removal. After my supervisor presented the fact to the AAPD, he then asked to speak directly with me. The AAPD asked me numerous questions concerning the case. I explained that apart from not having a return ticket and possible not having sufficient funds, the subject appeared to be mollified. Our father explained to the AAPD that when the subject looked at me, I felt bone chilly cold effect. The bottom line, he gave me the chills. You just have to be present to understand what I'm trying to explain. The AAPD then asked if I have tried to place him under oath. I replied that I have tried to place the subject on the oath, but the subject refused to answer my questions. The AAPD then stated that under Section 235(1), small a(5) of the Immigration Nationality Act, an applicant could be required to state under oath any information sound by the immigration officer regarding the purpose and intention of the applicant in seeking admission to the United States. The AAPD further stated that he was convinced from what I have stated and my belief about the subject that the individual was mollified and should be allowed to withdraw his application or be set up for expedited removal. I then proceeded to advise the subject that he did not appear to be admissible to the United States. He was offered the opportunity to voluntarily withdraw his application for admission. However, at this time, he became very upset and stated that he was not about to pay for a return ticket. I stated to him, no problem, we will place you in a detention facility overnight, and tomorrow we will make the necessary arrangement to get you a plane ticket so you come back where you came from. The interpreter stated to him the fact that we were planning to place him on a detention facility, and then he agreed to withdraw and sign his I-275. Along with another immigration inspector, I escorted the subject to his departed gate for his removal. Before boarding the aircraft, the subject turned to the other inspector and myself and said in English something to the effect, I'll be back. On August 4, 2001, subject departed via Virgin Atlantic Flight 16 to London with connection flight to Dubai. On September 11, 2001, while attending a meeting with the warden at the Central Florida Processing Center, Department of Corrections, concerning the use of the R5 range, a correction officer came in and advised the warden of the incident that just occurred in New York City. As I watched the television, I could not help but think of the two cases I processed in August concerning Saudi nationals. I immediately contacted the Orlando airport. I do not remember which officer I spoke with, but I asked them to look up the cases and contact the FBI agent assigned to the airport. To the best of my knowledge, immigration officers made copies of the August 2001 incidents and provided the paperwork to the FBI. The FBI have never interviewed me. I do not recall ever speaking with Gitmo officials. INS headquarters contacted me twice. I have no other contact with intelligence or law enforcement officials outside of Legacy INS. The only government contact I have had about this incident came from the September 11 Commission this past fall from your border team investigative team incident.